Okay, so this is simplifying the square root of a whole number. So I'm going to start off with the square root of 150. Of course, it helps when my pen actually works. So hold on. Okay, the square root of 150. All right. Now, remember, when dealing with square roots, what we're really looking to utilize are these integers called perfect squares. Okay? Now, a perfect square is something where we start off with 1 times 1, which is 1 squared, which is equal to 1. And we have 2 times 2, which is 2 squared, which is equal to 4. And 3 times 3, which is equal to 3 squared, which equals 9. And you can see this pattern continuing on, so that we get equal to 16, equal to 25, equal to 36, equal to 49, and the pattern will continue. So these are our perfect squares. These are numbers that you really want to get yourself familiar with because they really do help out with solving these problems. So when dealing with this, what we want to do is we want to break this into two factors. We want to break it into a perfect square factor, which I'll call a PSF, and then just the other factor that's left over, such that when I multiply it by the perfect square factor, I get 150. So what we're going to do is we are actually just going to let me see here. All right, I can't get this up, but basically you grab a calculator and you're going to take 150 and you're going to start dividing it. So you're going to take 150, plug it into your calculator, and divide it by 1. Then divide it by 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 40. You're going to divide it by each one until you get to a number here that is the largest perfect square factor that divides out 150. So obviously 150 divide 1 is just going to be 150, which doesn't help us out at all. We're going to try 150 divide 4. Okay, that's 37.5. That won't work. 150 divide 9. That's 16.667. That's not going to work. So 150 divide 16, 9.375. That won't work. So 150 divide 25. Aha! 150 divide 25. So perfect square factor, the largest one, is 25. And if I multiply that by 6, excuse me, I will get 150. Now 6. The only factors of 6 are 3 and 2, of which neither of those are perfect squares, so this is the combination, 25 times 6, that I want to use. Remember that the square root is still over all this. Also remember, though, that if I have the square root of an a times a b, there's a rule, that allows me to go square root of a times the square root of b. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the square root of 25 times the square root of 6. The square root of 25, I know, is 5, and the square root of 6, because there is no perfect square for 6, is simply the square root of 6. So this would be your answer for this problem. Let me do another one. I'm going to just slide this over. Let's do the square root of, I don't know, 270. I have no idea. Okay, so let's try this one. I'm just making this up. So 270. 270 divided 1 is 270. That doesn't help. So hopefully you're seeing 1. You just kind of skip 1 because it doesn't really give us anything other than the number we started with. Instead, what we're going to do is 270 divide 4. That gives us something with a decimal. 270 divide 9. That's helpful. Okay, so 270 divide 9 would give us 9 as our perfect square and times 30 as our other factor. Okay, so let's analyze 30 real fast. Is there any combination here for 30 that we could, is there any perfect square of 30? 30 divide 4 is no, 30 divide 9 is no, 30 divide 16 is no. So this is it. This is my combination here. 9 times 30. Now remember, there's a square root over the whole thing, but because of the rule that I can use with these exponents, I know it's really the square root of 9 times the square root of 30. And the square root of 9 is simply 3, and this would be times the square root of 30. And that's your answer. So you should be able to get through this in about 3 steps.